Hello there, this is Chadderbox, and this week I was tasked with making a whole new environment for my unnamed indie game. So, how did it go? I'll show you. But first you might be thinking, Chadderbox, I thought this game had a name. Well, it did. It used to be called Rocketeer, but I'll tell you more about that in a bit. So, while I was making my new environment, I didn't actually need to make any new assets. What I've done is I've repurposed the old ones in ways that the player won't notice. A big part of this is that I've changed all their materials and all their properties. So some trees sway more now, and more importantly, they're all coloured in that beautiful autumn colour palette. The colours are not really final at the moment. I'm still trying to make them look less like mud, but we'll get there eventually, I'm sure. So with all my autumn visuals set up, I started templating some more islands to place in my levels. My scene with all my templates has gotten impressively large, and I think it's really cool to look at. The template's done and everything looking nice and crisp, something still felt like it was missing. Last episode I said that I wanted unique mechanics in the game for each season, and so I set about thinking about what I wanted. Looking outside my window, I saw leaves being blown around by the autumn wind, and I thought that was pretty perfect. My idea for this season's mechanic would be wind. I set about implementing that. First, I made the particle effect for the wind, which I tried to communicate as obviously as possible. I made the lines thick so the player could clearly see them, and made sure they outlined the space that the player could interact with. I then programmed the effect. Using a clever little box collider and setting it as a trigger, I could detect if the player was staying inside the box, and use the same function I used to knock back the player when they rocket jump in order to boost them into the air if they're in the wind. After messing around with it for a bit and tuning the values, I decided that it was functioning well, so I decided to make a few levels. I introduce it slowly to the player, firstly with a level that is very simple, containing just a few islands and one wind effect going straight up. Something I found rather quickly is that levels with wind need to have some islands in the background so the player can gather reference for where they are and if they're moving, as otherwise they get quickly disoriented, which was something I was intending to do on the polish passes for the game once I was finished with actually implementing the gameplay, but for the sake of testing, the levels with wind in have islands in the background already. After the first level, I started to elaborate on the wind mechanic. I made one level where you used the wind to boost yourself forward to an island that you could not reach with your rocket launcher alone. Then, I combined the forward boost with the upwards one in the level after that, and kept iterating on it. But all of this stuff did not come without bugs. The people in my Discord server helped massively with testing the game and finding bugs. I want to give a big shout out to Eric in the Discord, who's been testing the game a lot and giving some great feedback. And also to Codebreaker, someone who found an absolutely game-breaking bug, which I would never have noticed. The problem, which at first I thought was a simple timer bug, turned out to be a massive memory leak, a problem that had to get sorted very quickly. It was a very frustrating problem to work on because it was very hard to trace down in terms of the source of the problem. I eventually tracked it down to the script that was controlling the crosshair, which was making a new texture multiple times a frame, and not deleting the old one. This obviously accumulated rather quickly, and the game would crash after about 5 minutes of remaining on the same level without it reloading. This crosshair script was something I hurriedly yoinked from online when I was getting the second devlog done, so there's a lesson there. Don't take stuff from online unless you're 100% certain that it's safe and that it works. If you want to help me with testing, join my Discord server, there'll be a link in the description. We now have a total of 27 levels in the game, so they're adding up quite nicely. So I mentioned at the start that the game doesn't have a name anymore, and that's because I'm not very smart. I may or may not have forgot to research the name of the game beforehand to check it was actually already in use. Well, after a Google search that took less than 5 seconds, I can tell you, it's in use. And not only is it in use, it's in use by Disney, a company who are very well known to be rather liberal with their lawsuits, something I'd rather avoid if possible. I'd love some new ideas for a game name though, so post them in the comments if you can think of one. I think I have one in mind, but I'm not too sure about it yet. So then, have a good day. If you like the video, please like it. If you want to see more of my game, I'd love if you subscribed. Bye!